time for the Susan Taylor Podcast, where we discuss the yoga of mind, medicine, and healing. Author of Feeling Good Matters, Sexual Radiance, and the Vital Energy Program, Dr. Taylor imparts authentic knowledge and practical tools that inspire, educate, and empower us to be a healing force for positive change. So join us and take your life and our planet to the next level.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 126, Immunity Starts in the Mind and How to Stay Happy and Healthy. You know, I was going to skip this week in podcasting because I'm going to do a Monday night class from all the questions and concerns and topics that I've gotten from people talking about how do I really build my immunity. And what came to me is that really immunity starts in the mind. It's our attitudes. And we also know there's physical. But I've spoken about herbs and other things before for helping with immunity. But what I really want to talk about today are just some key concepts and then build on that. And I'm even thinking about doing a course on building immune functioning from the inside out. So I'd just like to give you a little bit of a preview today and talk about some of the things I'll be doing on our Monday night Zoom class, which is going to be tomorrow night. And that'll be followed by classes that follow. So, you know, I've always said to people, don't lose or succumb to losing your innate power to heal. We just have to know how to use what's already inside of us. And thank you, the community of listeners who really asked me to speak about immunity. I always love to hear from all of you. And not that you're asking me what to eat and what to do, but we can really look at it as a bigger picture. And that's what I want to do today, because we know that the current climate of our country and the world, for that matter, is really deeply, deeply affecting our health vitality. And with this problem, that pandemic that's happening now, it is quite scary. It's quite intense, but we have to be able to lift our spirits up. And for those of you that have seen the spiritual uplift on the susantaylor.org website, you should really go there if you haven't, where I really talk about and I give you 5 practices, because we do need to lift ourselves up. We need to take our strengths and move forward with our strengths now, and that will keep our immunity up and running. You know, there's many lifestyle strategies. I'll talk about some of them, but for worry and fear has such a strong impact on our immune system. I would like to just caution everyone to stay off any of the social media that's reporting from public places. You know, go to the CDC, go to the WHO, go where they're just giving you numbers or what's really happening. The reporters really don't have much knowledge in medicine and immunology, so it's best to stay away from the sensationalism because it will weaken your immunity. So we do have to address, the times here now that we have to address our lives, slow down, and develop that inner focus to build our immunity from the inside out. Our inner unrest that causes our immune system to become compromised, is something that we have to really pay attention to now. Digestive disturbance, emotional turmoil, and any of these unbalanced conditions. I just finished my new book, Return to Radiance, actually tonight. I'm recording this pretty late because I wanted to finish the edits. And, I looked at the latest research, and it's reported that stress accounts for over 75 to 90% of doctors' office visits. Now, look, luckily there are many ways to reduce the risk for losing our vitality, succumbing to the compromised immune system, as well as strategies to bounce back if challenged with an obstacle. It's not as easily readily to find it on the web because they're touting all sorts of things. You really need to be working, reading, doing from the text that you need to be working with and working with yourself and working with practitioners like myself or other practitioners that you work with that are keen on really what's happening. So we all know that eating a healthful diet, I've spoken about that, getting adequate sleep, exercise daily, managing stress, vitamin D levels we have to look at, supplementing with the appropriate supplements. But again, that's based on your constitution. What works for one person doesn't work for another. But I want to add one more thing, and this is what I want to talk about in this episode, is to uplift our mind's immunity. And what I mean by that is we have to really develop a healing force for positive change that I started over a year ago talking about it, and now the time has come right now. And so how do we support this robust immunity that I'm talking about? Well, boosting the immune system refers to allowing the immune system cells to do their job correctly. And if the body is and the mind are healthy and functioning, it's a much easier task. Because if our body or mind is taxed by stress, illness, even malnutrition, which most of us experience that, it's going to be a lot harder. I always have my basis in Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine, ancient systems. And the focus is not always on strengthening the immune system specifically, so keep that in mind, but rather the whole body to allow the immune system to function optimally. And that's really where I'm coming from in the work that I'm doing. I have had a few of you, I did some private work with you over the last 2 weeks on getting your immune system or your body back in balance so that you can ride this out a little bit easier. And so I'm taking some of the ideas from all of that. Since the immune system resides in our blood and lymphatic system, we have to have proper circulation of these systems to have really good health. And so these are the kind of things that we have to be thinking about, not just running out and hoarding. I'm not saying you're doing that, but we get supplements, we get foods, we get all of this, but it's really a bit more than that. Because, our immunity is not an organ or a specific pathway, but it's rather a collection of various cells which really protect our body from the invaders from the outside, the bacteria, the viruses, toxic compounds. And there's 2 categories of cells in which we're talking about. We have our innate immune response, and then we also have our acquired immune response. The innate, which we're born with, is the first line of defense. And it's really a non-specific defense mechanism, which means that it doesn't necessarily recognize a specific foreign invader, but it will recognize that it's foreign. So it's not going to be specific. And then when it's recognized, it'll kill or remove the invader through different mechanisms. But let's suppose that the invader is not removed. It slips by, and that's what's happening, right? Well, what happens is the stronger immune system, which is our adapted or acquired immunity, and that's what we get through our lifestyle habits, will act to remove it. And that's where the whole vaccine idea came in. And, once activated, the cells will actually remove the invader. It'll disarm the invader. And that's the whole idea. So what we want to do is our acquired immune response is, then we develop that memory, that immunological memory. So if let's say we get the COVID, chances are you're not going to get it again if it acts like a normal virus because you'll have immunity. Well, that's because of your adapted or acquired immunity that does that. And again, that's why I said that's how vaccinations work, and that was the whole reasoning behind it. So to work with the immune system, we have to work and address the root cause of our imbalances. And what I wanted to talk about here is one of the biggest root causes of our imbalances is our mind. Our mind becomes compromised. It's just compromised when we have any kind of jealousy, animosity, fear, worry, any stresses, anything that stresses us, that compromises our mind. So strong immunity is a product of good digestion, and we all know that strong Agni, I call it the metabolic fire. But for many of you who've taken all my courses and my trainings, what do I talk about? I say the digestion, the physical digestion, is in correlation with our mental digestion. How well are we digesting our thoughts, feelings, emotions, our worries, our concerns? That's where we want to go with. I want to go with it in this episode. Of course, I have to talk about physical digestion, and I'm doing that one-on-one with many of you. And if you want a little class on that, let me know. I'll do it as a group. But that's very, very important because that transfers then to the mind, and the mind also transfers to the body. Remember, mind and body are one. Remember, our immune function is affected by past trauma, lifestyle choices, stress levels, the quality of our relationships with others and with ourselves. And it's our overall state of consciousness. So keep that in mind. That's the key. So anything that comes up from past trauma, any of our memories, lifestyle choices, stress levels, and relationships. And the best relationship, or the biggest one that we have to deal with, is our relationship to ourselves. In the old Ayurveda, and I'll talk about that on Monday night with Dr. Robert Svoboda, where he talks about we getting our immunity, which literally means forgiveness of disease. So we have to learn to just forgive and let go of certain things. It's a development of consciousness. So we have to be able to live in the present moment in a pure, detached way. Not detached that we don't love people, but not get all worked up. I always say remain calm for that reason. That's where that came from. And when we get stressed, we dry up and we create a problem, and our immune system won't work for us. So the very first steps in establishing a good, robust immunity, or starting with the mind, is create a routine. The mind loves routine, and the mind thrives on routine. So we could start with, we awaken at a certain time, eat our meals on time, go to bed on time. That's simple. We can do that. That's possible, and we can do that. And then we could add meditation practices and pranayama. And I'm going to put that, if I do classes with you, I'll show you how to use the pranic fields to move the energy, strengthen the immunity, strengthen the respiratory systems. Because stress is the primary factor that's compromising our immune system in many ways. That's where our alternate nostril breathing practice comes in, because it does offer powerful support and a very good starting place. We have yoga, asana, moving prana in the body, meditation. So before I end, I want to just say we have to go back to basics. You know, Ayurveda teaches us that ojas is a subtle substance that really goes into our consciousness after food is digested. And strong immunity are the natural outcomes of good health. Again, we're talking about balance here, which depends on a very good Agni, a good digestive fire, both physically and mentally. The mind's metabolism is very, very important, and we want to have a balanced nervous system. So supporting the nervous system, or the immune system, I should say, is more about basic self-care than anything else. Our bodies will flourish with proper nutrition and adequate sleep. But we have to work with the mind here. You have to manage stress and cultivate healthy relationships, healthy attitudes, embracing joy and meaning, living in alignment with our authentic truth, not doing something that we don't believe in. That will support your immune system. And if you'd like to really talk about it more, join me on our Zoom that we're doing, our Zoom class that we're doing on Monday. I'm doing that for the community. If you didn't get that, please write to me, and I will get you the links for that with the password. And I would be more than happy to share that. The more, the merrier. And so we want to just celebrate life right now. We're in that transformation place where transformation is happening right now, and we can really step into the light of our being. So we want to work from the inside out, and yes, do our breathing, our relaxation, our stress and tension relief, but also eat good food, because we want to maintain that positive, joyful attitude. And that's the right thing to do. We're going to fast instead of from food, everyone. We should be fasting from worry and fear, and enjoy to laugh. Just laugh. And there was something I was watching on YouTube with this, somebody put a dog up there named Pluto, a public service announcement, and it was just so funny and so joyful, and it got everybody laughing. And that's really where we're at. We want to uplift our spirit right now. If you haven't done so already, please go to susantaylor.org/spiritual uplift, and you will actually get 5 practices that will help you get into that space, into that light, and uplift your spirit. Remember, indigestion, whether it's physical or mental, prevents nutrients from nourishing the cells. And as I always say, do your research. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Do your research, again, I'll say. And if you know someone who really may want to know about the topic or sign in on Monday and enjoy the class that we're going to do, please pass it on. Send a link to someone that you might think will benefit from this podcast. And join me. You can go through iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, other podcast platforms for our podcast, and join the community. I'd love your questions, answers. I'm enjoying the comments that are coming in and some topic suggestions, and they're all revolving around immunity. So that's where I'm going to be going with this. And as I said, I'm putting together a curriculum now to carry it forward and really start teaching so people can get to really a deeper level of immunity not just taking, I could talk to you about herbs, I could talk to you about nutrition, but I really want to talk to you about combining that with moving the energy channels within the body and opening them up so that you don't have to even think about any virus coming in and attacking you. Because if you're a yogi, you'll get better right away. It's something we go forward with what we're doing in life. Don't go back to the past of who did it, who didn't do it, how it happened. Forget it. Here we are now. Let's stick together, move together as a community, and I'm here to help lead that. And I would love to hear from you. I'd love your support, and support me by sharing the podcast. And until next time, as I always say, remain calm, consciously aware, living in the moment.